Exodus chapter 17, verses 1 through 16, KJV. Now let us turn to the book of Exodus, chapter 17, verses 1 through 16. This passage unfolds during Israel's journey through the wilderness, shortly after their miraculous deliverance from Egypt and the crossing of the Red Sea. At this stage, the Israelites are no longer slaves, but they are not yet a people of mature faith. They are in transition. This wilderness is not just a physical place, but a spiritual training ground where God shapes his people. 1. Water from the rock, verses 1 through 7. The chapter begins with the Israelites camping at Rephidim, where there is no water. Immediately the people begin to complain and quarrel with Moses. "Give us water that we may drink." Here we must ask, why do they complain so quickly, even after witnessing God's power? From a Hebrew perspective, the wilderness midbar is not only a place of lack, but a place of divine speaking. It is where God reveals himself deeply. Yet, instead of seeking God, the people test him. They say, "Is the Lord among us or not?" This question reveals their spiritual condition. They are not truly asking for water, they are questioning God's presence. Why does God allow this situation? God is not unaware of their thirst. He intentionally leads them into a place of need, because need reveals faith or the lack of it. Without thirst, they would never learn to trust him as their provider. God's response. God instructs Moses, "Go on before the people, take your rod and strike the rock in Horeb." This is deeply symbolic. The rock represents something hard, lifeless, and impossible. Yet from it flows life-giving water. From a theological perspective, this points forward to Christ. In the New Testament, we see that Christ is the spiritual rock. He is struck, and from him flows living water, grace, salvation, and eternal life. Spiritual meaning. God provides not from abundance, but from impossibility. This teaches us God does not need favorable conditions. He brings life out of dryness. He provides in ways we cannot predict. Application today. Even today, we often ask, where is God in my situation? But God is not absent in our wilderness. He is working through it. Your lack may not be punishment, it may be preparation. 2. The battle with Amalek, verses 8 through 16. Next, Israel faces a new challenge, not thirst, but warfare. The Amalekites attack. This is Israel's first military conflict. Why does this happen immediately after provision? Because spiritual life follows a pattern, provision testing battle. After God meets your needs, your faith is tested through conflict. Moses, Joshua, and the battle. Moses instructs Joshua to lead the army. Meanwhile, Moses stands on the hill with the staff of God. As long as Moses holds up his hands, Israel prevails. When his hands grow tired and fall, Amalek gains ground. Why is this important? This shows that victory is not determined only on the battlefield. It is determined in the spiritual realm. Joshua represents action. Moses represents prayer and dependence on God. Both are necessary. The role of community. When Moses becomes tired, Aaron and Hur support his hands. This is a powerful lesson. No one wins spiritual battles alone. Even a great leader like Moses needed help. Spiritual interpretation. The Amalekites represent opposition, both external and internal. Fear, doubt, temptation. Spiritual resistance. Victory comes when we remain connected to God. When our hands are lifted, symbolizing prayer, faith, and surrender, we prevail. God's declaration. After the victory, God says, "I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven." This is not just a historical statement, it is spiritual. God declares that evil and opposition will ultimately be defeated. Jehovah Nissi. Moses builds an altar and names it. "The Lord is my banner," Jehovah Nissi. A banner represents identity, victory, and authority. This means God himself is the one who fights for his people. Final spiritual message. Exodus 17 teaches us two powerful truths. God provides in the wilderness. God fights for his people in battle. Your life will include both thirst and conflict, but in both God is present. Modern application. When you feel empty, trust God's provision. When you face battles, depend on his strength. Do not measure God by your circumstances. Measure your circumstances by God. Closing reflection. Ask yourself, am I trusting God in my lack? Am I relying on him in my battles? Do I recognize his presence even in difficulty? God is not only the God of miracles, but the God of process. He shapes you through the journey. And in the end, you will declare, "The Lord is my banner." Thank you.